welcome back to another B.hooked Crochet video tutorial. I'm your host Brittany, and today this tutorial is going to be all about the February Crochet-Along for B.hooked Crochet, and this project is going to be the Granny Square tote bag. If you're tuning in order to follow along with our crochet-along, you'll be able to find some information in the links below. And in today's tutorial, we're going to cover the supplies that you'll need, and we're also going to discuss how to make this granny square in order to complete your project. It's actually a lot simpler than it seems, so I want to make this completely beginner friendly because I do have a lot of followers who are in the early stages of learning how to crochet, but I also want to make it easy enough and simple enough that some of our more advanced crocheters can follow along and have a great time as well. So the supplies list for the Granny Square tote bag is actually quite small. The main thing that you're going to need is some yarn, of course. And I am choosing to use cotton yarn for my project because if you're more familiar with working with acrylic yarns or wool yarns, you will have discovered that they like to kind of fray in felt a little bit. And I plan on using my tote bag, so it's going to get a lot of use. And cotton, the more that it's rubbed, it doesn't seem to felt nearly as much. I also am choosing cotton because it's more durable, and you'll notice if you pull on a cotton yarn, it doesn't really stretch hardly at all. And that's exactly what I want because I have a tendency of putting a lot of things in my purse, and I don't want it to be sagging to the ground as I'm trying to carry it along. As far as the yardage, you will need approximately 600 yards, and that's probably a little bit of an overestimate. Now I too am working through this project as I go along, so I haven't actually completed one of these myself. I have, however, completed about 12 squares, and I have used about 1.5 skeins of I Love This cotton yarn, and this yarn can be purchased from Hobby Lobby. It's their exclusive brand, and it comes in a skein of 180 yards. So I went ahead and bought 2 more just to make sure I have enough. If you are going to be crocheting your handles, you probably will want to have at least 600 yards, if not a little bit more, depending on how long you want to make it. Some other cottons that you can keep in mind are Lily Sugared and Cream. That's also a nice cotton. I find that it's a little bit more difficult to work with than the I Love This cotton, but if you don't have a Hobby Lobby in your area, it's probably what I would go to as my default. There's also a Lion brand kitchen cotton that I have used only once or twice before, so I don't have a whole lot of experience with that particular yarn. As far as the other items that you'll need are some handles. Now, I would like to have like a pleather handle or something that looks leather, or if I could find leather, that would be great too. You can buy bag handles at some fabric stores. Like in my area, we have Hancock's Fabrics, and they do have a limited selection of purse handles. And I know they're available to purchase off of Amazon, so you can order some off of there as well. You could even go as far as to buy or use a purse that you don't use anymore and cut off those handles and actually secure them to your new purse as well. Hook size, you are going to need a size 4 if you are using a worsted weight cotton, which, like I said, I recommend. If you're a more advanced crocheter and you want to deviate from the patterns that I've suggested, by all means go ahead and do so. If you're a beginner, I would suggest using a worsted weight or a number 4 yarn. And with this particular yarn, it actually calls for a 5.5 millimeter hook. And I'm choosing to use a smaller hook because I don't want there to be any give in these squares whatsoever, because like I said, I don't want it to stretch out as I'm using it. Other supplies that you'll need, of course, a darning needle and a pair of scissors, and you can put a liner in your purse as well. I won't be showing you how to do that because although I do claim to be a crochet instructor, I am by no means a sewing instructor. I can fumble through and make my own purse linings, and I have done it in the past before, but I'm definitely not seasoned enough to teach you how to do it myself. So maybe that's something you might already know how to do, or you have a friend that can show you, or you can just use it without a liner. There's not going to be a whole lot of holes in the bag from the actual crocheting, so you could probably get away with doing it that way. So now that we've got the supplies list out of the way, and like I said, you can find all this information on my website, and I'll have a link to that post in the description below. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and teach you how to make this granny square right here. And this is just a simple solid granny square. There's really nothing fancy about it. It's probably one of the first motifs you might ever learn how to do, and if this is the first time you've ever made a crochet motif, this is an excellent square to do it on. And there are a couple of different ways to do this, and I have a way that, you know, I'm sure it's not totally unique, but it's a way that I like to use it because I don't like there to be any visible chain threes. Now for those of you who are brand new, we typically chain up 3 when we're starting a new round, and that counts as a double crochet. And if you've seen any work before, any finished piece or whatnot, you can usually find these chain 3 spaces. They don't look like double crochets. And so since most of this square is going to be visible, I don't want there to be a visible chain 3, so I'm going to show you a way around that. So go ahead and grab your yarn and grab your hook, and we'll get started on making the solid granny square. Okay, the first thing we want to do to get started on making this solid granny square is to create a slip knot. So what you're going to do is hold the tail end of your yarn in your dominant hand, and you're going to wrap it around your finger towards you, and you want to do that twice. And so we're going to take this back loop and we're going to pull it over the front loop and just kind of lay it there, and then we're going to pull that front loop up and over the tip of our finger, and we're going to pull that tight, and then insert your hook and pull it, and you've got your slip knot. Now what we want to do is chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, and now what we want to do from this point is we want to join this to form a ring. And the way we do that is take our hook, insert it into the first chain, and then yarn over, pull that through the loop, and take that first loop and pull it back through the loop that's on your hook. And the way I like to teach people how to do this is take your fingers and pull those chains apart, and you can see this open space here. That's going to be the area of the chain that you want to work through. And so what I like to do is stick my finger in there to kind of hold my spot. Alright, so from here, what makes the way I do this granny square different from everybody else is how many I chain initially. And so what I like to do is, instead of chaining 3, because we will be working with double crochets, I'm going to go ahead and chain 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Alright, and what that is doing, 3 of those chains are counting as a double crochet, and 2 of the chains are counting as a chain 2 that you would find in one of the corners. So I'm going to lay this down for a second, and I'm going to pick up my square and kind of try to show you where we're working. So you can see this ring in the center. That is what we're going to be working in. We're going to be creating this very first foundation, and this is the size of our chain 4. And you can kind of see this little spot looks a little bit different than the rest, and that's because this area right here has the first 3 chains that I said that counts as a double crochet, and then the other chain 2 is in this corner right here. So what we're going to do then is start working in double crochet, and we're actually going to be starting with this stitch right here, and we're going to be working ourselves around to the counterclockwise back to where we started. All right, what we want to go ahead and do is double crochet 3 times into the center of our ring. And to do that, what we want to do is yarn over, insert your hook right into the center of that ring, yarn over and pull up a loop, and yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. That's how you make a double crochet. And this tail, it helps if you keep this tail like laying right next to the chain. That way you can work over top of it, and it just makes one less end that you have to weave in the very end. And when you're making 24 of these things, you need all the help you can get. So go ahead and double crochet another time. Actually, we're going to be doing it 2 more times. So we want to be working in sets of 3. This is my 3rd double crochet. All right, and now what we're going to do is add on the 2nd corner. So like I said before, this chaining of 5 that we did, that includes 2 chains for a corner. So the 2nd corner, we need to add 2 more chains. And now we're going to double crochet 3 more times. Okay, I have added 3 more double crochets. Now we chain 2. We're making our 3rd corner. And if you need to, go ahead and pull these stitches around to the side. It's going to get a little bit tight, and that's exactly what we want. So just go ahead and pull those down to help you clear out some more space to work in your last few double crochets. Okay, I've made another 3, so I'm making my last corner by chaining 2. And as I said in the beginning, that first chaining of 5, 3 of those counts as a double crochet. And so we just need to add 2 more into the remaining space, and that chaining of 3 will count as our last double crochet. Alright, and now what we need to do is join to our chain in order to complete this round. And you're going to have to look at your chain here, and you want to join to the 3rd chain. Okay, so from here I've got my first chain here, my 2nd chain, and my 3rd chain. So I'm going to insert my hook directly into that 3rd chain. I'm going to yarn over and pull up a loop, and we're slip stitching, so we're going to pull that loop directly through the loop that was on our hook. And now we finished round number 1. If this is your first time making a granny square, it's helpful to count your stitches at the end of each round. So at the end of round number 1, you're going to want to have 4 sets of 3 for a total of 9 stitches. Now to start off round number 2, we're going to start off the same way we did initially. We're going to chain 5. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and now we're going to start working in the corners. And what we're going to be doing each round is we're going to be increasing each one of these rows, or each one of the sides, by a total of 4 stitches. And we're going to be doing that by adding 2 double crochet into each corner from each side. So I'll show you exactly what I mean when we get back around. But go ahead and double crochet 2 times right into this open gap space where we have our chaining of 2. That's 1, and this is 2. So we have increased by 2 already. And now to find the next stitch to double crochet in, I know I did this a lot as a beginner, and it took me a little while to realize what was going on. So you want to double crochet into each one of these 3 stitches. And so your automatic instinct is to double crochet right here because that looks like the first open stitch, or at least it did to me when I was brand new. But sometimes if you kind of pull this apart just like that, you can see, oh hey, there is a stitch right here, and I used to always miss that, and so my stitch count was always off. So just now that you're aware of that, hopefully you should pass up all of the troubles that will come along with trying to figure out why your stitch count is too short. So you just want to double crochet right into that spot, and once you pull it apart you can kind of see this loop open up. That's the bottom part of the stitch. So just double crochet right into that spot, and then double crochet once into each of the other 2 stitches. And then just like we did on the other corner, we want to add 2 stitches, and so that will be, we will be completing our increasing of 4 on this side of the granny square. Okay, so that's my second. So now for row 2, or round number 2, you're going to have a total of 7 stitches on each side, and your total count at the very end is going to be 28. So now what we want to do from here is start forming the next corner. So remember, the way we do that was just to chain 2. Okay, now we've made the start of our first corner, and so now we're starting a new side. So like I said before, we have to increase each side by 4 stitches. So the way we do that is to double crochet 2 times into the corner space. Okay, now we've increased by 2, and then just like before, don't miss that stitch there in the very beginning, and double crochet once into each of the 3 stitches across. And now we're going to finish off our increasing just like before. We're going to double crochet 2 times into this corner space here. And we're going to just repeat this all the way around. And now if you're brand new, you're going to want to probably count your stitches each time just to make sure you're not missing anything. And just remember that every time you come to a corner, you're going to double crochet twice, chain 2, and double crochet 2 more times. That might be a little bit easier for you to remember than saying that you're going to increase by 2 in each corner for each side. So how about we just say you double crochet once into every stitch, and when you reach a corner you're going to double crochet twice, chain 2, and double crochet 2 more times. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up this round, and we'll meet back up when you're done. Alright, I've reached the end of round number 2, and I want to point one more thing out to you. Since this is the first time that we're coming across this chaining of 5 space past our setup round, what you want to do is make sure you don't forget to double crochet into this spot right here, okay? That's your last stitch that you need to worry about for this round. And then like before, on every corner we double crochet 2, we chain 2. And so this is kind of a special case because, as before, chaining of 3 is going to count as 1 double crochet, but it's going to count as if it were in the corner space. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to look at it here because it looks like it's coming out of this stitch right over here. But that's actually the benefit of doing the granny square this way, because this chaining of 3 kind of stays hidden, and so it actually just gives the granny square a better appearance. And if I put this down and I pick up my other block that I have going here, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So you can see this kind of longer looking stitch on each one of the corners, and that's the final double crochet going in over that chain. So we're hiding the chain, but we're not losing any stitches along the way. So what you want to do to finish this off is double crochet into this chain 2 space, and you're just going to work it over top of that chain. And you'll kind of see here, this is starting to take on the pattern as my other one. It kind of looks like a little bit of a longer stitch there, and that's exactly what we want. So just like before, now we are going to join with our chain 3. So sometimes it's easier to count up from chain 3. I actually like to count backwards. So I count from the top end here, 1 and 2, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the 3rd. You can do it however works for you. Now we've completed round 2, and as I said, you want to make sure you've got 7 stitches across, and you want to make sure that you have a total of 28. And don't forget to count that chaining of 3, because we are actually counting that as a stitch. Alright, now we're going to begin round number 3. So to do round number 3, we're going to start off just the same way as before. We're going to chain 5. And we're going to do this every single time, okay? There's a total of 5 rounds, and for all 5 rounds, we're going to start off by chaining 5. Now, just like before, we want to double crochet twice into that chain 2 space from the previous round. And then just like before, we want to make sure we don't forget that first stitch there. Okay, and we're going to double crochet into each stitch all the way across. Okay, and we're going to finish off this side of the granny square by double crocheting 2 times into that next corner. And after this, we should have a total of 11 double crochets for this side. Okay, so go ahead and chain 2, and now work 2 more double crochets into this corner. And then continue on double crocheting once into each stitch all the way across. And this is our repeat. It's as simple as that. I know some of my viewers were a little bit hesitant to take on this project or to commit to doing it because they felt like it was going to be really difficult. And that's the cool thing about this tote bag. It really does look like an advanced project, but it's super easy, and you'll find out that, you know, this is actually quite doable for any crocheter, really. It doesn't matter what level you are. So I'm coming up to the next corner, double crocheting twice, just like before. And now at this point I'm going to set you free. Go ahead and finish double crocheting into each stitch. Increase in your corners like you're supposed to, like we've been doing before, and we'll meet back up right before we are finished joining for this round. Alright, I've made it almost all the way around round number 3, and just like before, don't forget this last stitch right here. You want to double crochet there, and just like before, the chaining of 3 counts as 1 double crochet into this corner. So we want to just go ahead and double crochet 1 more time into the corner, and then we want to join with our 3rd chain, which is right here. We're going to join with a slip stitch. That completes round number 3. Now for round number 3, your stitch totals should be 11 on each side, or a total of 44. Alright, I'm going to get you started on round number 4, but it's exactly the same as our previous rounds. we're going to chain up 5, and we're going to start off by double crocheting 2 times into this corner, and then we're going to continue on by double crocheting once into each stitch all the way across. And for row number 4, we're going to have a total of 15 on this side, counting the 2 that we're adding into each corner. So go ahead and continue on in this fashion, okay? We're going to double crochet 1 time into each stitch. We are increasing every corner in the order of doing 2 double crochets, chaining of 2, and 2 more double crochets. Alright, and we'll meet back up at the very end of the round, and we are almost finished with our first square. Alright, I've made it back around to the end of round number 4, and I wanted to remind you of the last stitch here. You want to make sure you don't forget to double crochet there. And we're going to put 1 more double crochet into this corner to finish off all of our stitches, and we want to slip stitch into the 3rd chain to finish off round number 4. Alright, starting off round number 5, we're going to start the same way. We're going to chain up 5. Are you starting to see the pattern here? It's the same all the way around. Okay, so double crochet twice into this first corner, and then double crochet 1 time into each stitch all the way across, being careful not to forget this first stitch here. And we are going to have a total of 19 stitches on each side. So just go ahead and crochet along and work right along with me here. But the repeat is exactly the same. Once we reach this corner, we're going to double crochet twice, we're going to chain 2, and we're going to double crochet 2 more into the same space, and then we're going to continue on double crocheting around the other side. Now when we get finished with round 5, we will have a total of 76 double crochet stitches. So you might want to count yours and make sure you have the right number to make sure that your squares are consistent. Now if your tension is a little bit different from square to square, especially with a project like this, you're not going to be working on it all at once. And as much as we like to think we crochet the same all the time, we actually don't. You'll notice that there's a slight variation from day to day. At least I do in mine. I know sometimes I crochet tighter than others. So either way, you want to make sure that your stitch count is correct, because that actually will throw off the size of your squares. And if it's a little bit different, it's not going to make a huge deal. We can work around that. But if it's noticeably different, then it's going to make sewing these squares together at the end a little bit more tricky. Okay, so just go ahead and continue crocheting along, and we'll meet back up at the end of round number 5. Okay, I've reached the end of round number 5, making my last double crochet into that tricky spot there that likes to hide. And now I'm going to double crochet 1 more time into that corner. And now I'm going to join with the 3rd chain, and that's it. You've made your first granny square. So now just go ahead and take your scissors, cut off your working yarn, and then just bind off. And now I recommend that you weave in your ends as you go along, because it's really no fun to have to try to weave in your ends on 24 squares. It gets really old really quick. So this concludes part 1 of our crochet along, and like I said before, I'm working right along with you. So as of now I have 13 of these squares, and so I've got 11 more to make, and at that point, once I get finished with those, I will be making another video that will show you how to sew your squares together. And the best part about having a crochet along is being able to share photos and your thoughts and the process with everybody, and that's one of the reasons why I started this crochet along, is because I wanted to have some discussion and some sharing amongst our community. And so I've created a discussion thread on my forum, and that's on the B.hooked Crochet website. That's B.hookedcrochet.com. I'll include the link to the discussion board as well in the description below. And as you go along, post your pictures and post your questions if you have any, just your overall comments, your progress. I'll be monitoring it daily, and hopefully some of the other users will be monitoring as well, and maybe they can chime in for some of the beginners who have questions. That's it for this video. Until next time, I have 11 more squares to make, so I will be crocheting away, and I will be back with part 2 of the February crochet along, and we'll discuss how to sew our squares together and finish up our bag. Until next time.